Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and this would be wild if true. Look at this headline from the Crypto Basic. Ripple v. SEC. Former White House official says SEC has dropped Ripple case. Now, I do want to say at the outset of this, I do not believe that there is anything to this, but it's being discussed broadly within the XRP community. Very clearly here, crypto media outlets are covering it, so I want to touch on this. But I think the more interesting discussion, frankly, centers around why this hasn't gone away just yet. And I'm going to share with you perspective from a couple attorneys within the XRP community, attorney James Murphy, aka Metal Lawman, and also attorney Jeremy Hogan, who went in depth the other day explaining why, well, he believes what's actually going on. And there's a lot going on behind the scenes, all sorts of things that need to be considered. And frankly, it might not even be the SEC that's holding up this process. What if it's Ripple? Sit tight, I'll explain. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say are right. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, so this piece reads as follows. Anthony Scaramucci, a former White House Director of Communications, suggests that the SEC has dropped its case against Ripple. Scaramucci made this bold assertion during a recent Wolf of All Street's podcast interview. During the interview, Scaramucci and the podcast host, Scott Melker, talked about Donald Trump's pro-crypto plans, as well as the regulatory framework of the industry. And folks, Donald Trump explicitly stated, like a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, the war on crypto is over. And I've brought this up a few times. So it's not that literally every single case just ends because he decrees it, but to me it just seems very obvious that it's, as far as winding all of this down, all of the attacks on crypto, it's nothing more than a formality, and I stand by that. But it could be, as you'll see, Ripple that's slowing this down. Anyway, piece continues. They also discussed other events, particularly the SEC's decision to drop its case against crypto-related businesses. Notably, Melker highlighted some of the legal actions the SEC has dropped, which include Consensus, Gemini, Uniswap, Coinbase, and Robinhood. However, Scaramucci interjected, suggesting he should add Ripple to the list. In response, Melker echoed, "Yeah, that's right," implying that the SEC may have dropped the Ripple lawsuit. Despite this claim, the SEC has yet to officially announce its decision on the Ripple lawsuit, as the case continues to linger in the Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. Okay, so I think that this is just a result of imprecise language, to be honest with you. When he said that you should throw a Ripple in there, I don't think that Scaramucci was literally trying to insinuate or explicitly state that that case was over just because other cases, and investigations and lawsuits that were just mentioned by Scott Melker actually did end. I think he just thought it as the same type of thing. To me, that seems much more probable. I'd be happy if he would, clarify this here. But given his background and his connections and stuff, this gets particular credence, and that's why this is widely circulated on social media within the XRP community. That's why there's this article about it. But really, I think that this is a big nothing, honestly. I think that he just didn't speak sufficiently precisely, and he should have said something along the lines of, "I believe that it's going to cease to exist, just like all of those things you just mentioned." That would have made sense, because I do believe that's going to happen here. But there's literally no evidence to indicate that this is over, and he's not part of the current administration in the White House. So sure, fine. He knows people, and he could know somebody who knows something. That's plausible, but I don't think he's got some sort of special information. And this is the way that it comes out, and it's specifically from him. I just don't think so. So then the question is, why is the Ripple SEC case still ongoing amid a sea of resolutions? That's a headline from Cointelegraph. Well, I'm going to go straight to sources within the XRP community here, because there are reasons. Now, the post on your screen here, I actually shared a few days ago, but I'm going to quickly read through it again because it's highly relevant to what comes after this, which is perspective from attorney Jeremy Hogan. Because attorney Hogan, he actually reposted the post from attorney Murphy that's on your screen right now. So I do need to run through this again. I'll try to be quick with this. Just kind of run through it to set the table properly. But then I've got all new stuff from attorney Hogan, but it needs to be done in this order. So here's what attorney Murphy had to say, though. I have a theory about the SEC's unexplained delay in dismissing the Ripple case. It might not be the SEC. It could be that Ripple is negotiating hard to get the SEC to agree to vacate some or all of Judge Torres' decision. The Torres decision was unquestionably great for XRP holders, but the A, finding of securities law violations, and the B, injunction with attendant bad boy provisions are not so great for Ripple. This is particularly true if Ripple is considering a future exempt securities offering or IPO. I believe the SEC would have accepted a settlement where both sides dismiss their appeals and the SEC takes the $125 million penalty in a heartbeat. So it makes sense, to me at least, that Ripple could be negotiating for a better deal than that. This is all pure speculation on my part. I could be wrong, wouldn't be the first. Note it is far from a sure thing that a federal judge would agree to vacate a prior ruling as part of a settlement. This was fairly commonplace several years ago when I started in the law business, but judges started balking at this in more recent times. And so there you go. There's a reasonable theory as to why this has taken so long. It could be Ripple rather than the SEC. It's an interesting theory, right? Absolutely plausible. Well, here's what Attorney Hogan had to say. So he reposted that and wrote the following on X. The delay in settling Ripple's case, as pointed out by James below, is likely the injunction in Judge Torres' judgment. The court enjoined Ripple from basically making sales directly to customers. There are workarounds for that, but obviously Ripple would rather not have the injunction at all. So, and folks, so of course he's talking about on the institutional side here. As you well know, Ripple won on the programmatic sales side, which basically just means XRP that's sold blindly to people on cryptocurrency exchanges. That's what that meant. But on the institutional side here with their customers, they did lose, and I still don't think that makes a damn bit of sense. But the good news is it doesn't directly impact XRP holders. I can understand why Ripple might want to push back against this, though, and that could be slowing things down. Anyway, Attorney Hogan continues. So, assuming the SEC is willing to work on this with them, the issue is this. Once a court issues an injunction, the parties themselves can't simply agree between them to disregard the injunction. Trust me, many men have gotten in legal trouble by thinking that since they got back with their girlfriend, they could ignore the restraining order, a type of injunction, against being within 200 feet of her. So, how do you dissolve an injunction? It's not simple, which is why I think the case doesn't resolve until April or May, whereas all these other cases have already been dismissed. He says the federal rules have Rule 60, which talks about getting relief from a judgment, and that's where you start. As you can see from the rule, it's not easy. Basically, you can't come back and ask the court to change a judgment unless something has changed. Obviously, the argument to the court would be that the SEC is in the process of reworking crypto rules and that it believes the injunction would be moot once it reworks things. The problem with this argument is that the court has based its decision on the Howey test, not on the SEC's rule changes, and the SEC cannot trump U.S. Supreme Court law. So, is it possible? The short answer is yes, but it has to be done very carefully. First, if you read a couple of cases on point, you'll see judges' discretion peppered throughout. Basically, it's up to the judge. And, of course, don't forget the unusual and powerful fact that the parties, I assume, would be coming to the court together, asking the court to dissolve the injunction. Look, when the girlfriend is there and saying she loves him again, she's pregnant, and they are getting married, that's a powerful reason to dissolve the injunction. And add to that, there is no one to even appeal the judge's decision if she doesn't do it correctly. That's also powerful. Ripple only has one shot at getting the injunction dissolved with the trial court, so it will have to draft a very carefully worded motion. That takes time, and the SEC will basically have to sign off on it. More complication. Once that is agreed to, both parties step to dismiss their appeals, and then Ripple files its motion with the trial court. And then the judge has to rule on the motion which can also take some time. That's how I see it playing out, and that's why I think May is the month. Although I could see the appeals being dismissed in April prior to Ripple's brief due date. Have a great week. So that's interesting, and now you can see the all the layers of complexity here. But I don't. If I'm Ripple, like, why not go for this? You got the wind at your back on this. Like, give it a whirl. It would just make things easier if all of this, if this injunction were just to cease, to go away. Because then you don't have to jump through hoops to, engage in transactions, foreign exchange transactions, which specifically impacts here because Ripple has publicly stated they're using stablecoins for their Ripple payments corridors that touch the United States, which is just the dumbest thing. So you can use XRP as a bridge currency anywhere else on the planet, but if the corridor touches the United States, you can't. It's just the silliest nonsense. It's just none of that makes sense here. I don't get it, man. So hopefully this does go away for them. But the good news is for we XRP holders, like we're already good. We are golden. And I will not be surprised in the least if once this goes away, whatever path that takes, the market responds. And if it happens in this time period, April to May, there's a very good chance that the bull market will still be going on there. We'll see where XRP is. Maybe it is worth way more even before this. But I think if that news hits and you've already got a bunch of exuberance in the market, it could get really bananas really quickly. It's an exciting time to be an XRP holder. That's for damn sure. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.